Hey guys, welcome to the Lafayette Prayer Room podcast, where we discuss what it looks like to grow in God through prayer, worship, and life in the context of a prayer room. I'm Josh Myers. I'm part of the Lafayette Prayer Room leadership. I lead worship on one of our teams. I'm also a husband, father of 5. I have a grandfather of 1 currently, with another one on the way, a little girl. So I'm excited about that. Little Miss Charlotte's on her way. And that's me.
I'm Hayden. I am a member of the prayer room. I play on stage. I play bass guitar for our worship sets on Saturday nights. I am a husband to Katie, who you've met a couple times on this podcast, and a father to the most wonderful little boy, Abram, who you've also heard a lot about on this podcast as well.
I know you're used to seeing some much better looking hosts, but you're stuck with us today. So let's see if we can do this. Yeah, today we're going to be talking about worship flow within the prayer room and all the details and all that kind of stuff. So it should be fun.
We're going to just talk a little bit about how we got started in the prayer room and how we first learned about it. Years ago, for me, it was kind of a developing thing throughout my life. I think I talked about this on our previous podcast, but basically, the short version is I've always loved the part of a worship service where the words end, like where the plan ends and you're like in that open space where you can kind of do whatever you want. That was always my favorite part, even before click tracks and music tracks and all of that. I just liked the part of the song where the song ended and you just kind of got to make things up. That was always my favorite. What I didn't know is that God had put that in me. I just thought I liked it because I'm kind of a fly by the seat of your pants kind of person just in general. So I thought that just kind of fit my personality, and that's probably partially true. But so I learned about that. That's always was kind of my desire. And then what happened was one year, the worship team took a trip together up to the prayer room and to the one in Kansas City. And we went there, and when I was there and we did a class on how to do the different parts of a prayer room and the different parts of a prayer service. And when we were there, all of a sudden I was like, I could feel from like my soul, like, yes, this is what I've always wanted to do. And I just didn't know. Like, I didn't know how to make it look like in an actual service or a prayer meeting or anything like that. When we went up there and they were like, this is how you do it. This is the steps. And I was like, yes, I had already been wanting to do that, but just didn't know what it was, now didn't actually do anything in the prayer room for like another 15 years. But I was in and out of the prayer team at our church, and we would do some sets were similar to, the prayer room, and some that were more normal prayer, like kind of a prayer team or whatever. And we kind of would go in and out of that. And I was in the prayer room, and then I'd get busy with my life, with kids, and just the business of life, and then back out again, then back in, and kind of back and forth. And then a while back, years ago, my wife started getting involved more intently and in the prayer room. And that's kind of whenever I started saying, I kind of want to do that too. And I started getting more involved with that. And that's kind of led me to where I am today, step by step,
Yeah, my first experience with the prayer room was actually through my mom, Trista, who is the host of this podcast. Usually she's not in here today. It's just us. We kind of took over a little bit today. But that was my first introduction, because for as long as I can remember, my mom has been a part of the prayer team at the Lafayette Prayer Room now since probably 2001, 2002, around there is about whenever it started. And so for as long as I can remember, I was born in 98. As long as I can remember, she was a part of that. So growing up, I've always seen what it looked like to be a part of the prayer room. There was some Monday nights where I get out of football practice and, hey, you go sit with mom in the prayer room until she's done, and then you just go home with her kind of deal. So I've been in and out all growing up and stuff. I've kind of had seasons in high school and middle school and things like that before I even got to the music side of things. Just going sit in the prayer room and wanting to kind of sit there and be a part of it a little bit. Kind of, as I was growing up, I would be a part of it a lot. And then I would go to these camps as a kid in Kansas City at the prayer room every single summer from the time I was 12 till 16, 17, something like that, till a senior in high school. Every summer I would go, and it was a music camp specifically, but music in the prayer room where we were playing actual sets in it's called the Justice Prayer Room at the time. It was basically a mini prayer room for a local community and stuff. And so I would do that every summer, all through junior high, all through high school, go do that. And then I ended up choosing to go to music school in Kansas City also after that in the same place. And so I did a whole year there, just learning to connect with the prayer room in a deeper level than just attending even, learning to connect and build the base there and build a deeper connection with the community of the prayer room. You can kind of see that grow in your own life as you more connect. It just allows yourself to be more open to coming there and not having a set game plan. I'm coming there and I'm not coming to play this bass for this set, but I can come there and I can just sit if I wanted to, and there's no real pressure outside of that because I have that community to fall back on and things like that. So I got to serve in, several different prayer rooms over there. They had the global prayer room, which was the big prayer room where most people knew about. Then they had an all nations prayer room, which was specific to different cultures and different languages would do sets. They had the practice prayer rooms for the school specifically would have teams for each class would have teams that would do practice sets and do actual sets, but it's just in a learning environment more than anything. And they have a justice prayer room, which is a more localized prayer room. So they have a lot of different prayer room settings that I got to experience with a lot of different people from different corners of the world to different cultures to different music styles all blending together. And so a lot of that, it really began to grow my love for playing in a prayer room because I kind of hearken on what you said of I enjoy the times after the song ends.
Right.
Nowadays we play with a lot of tracks. We play with, and there's nothing wrong with tracks. They serve the song well. They fill out space that you may not have a full band for. All those things are great. But once that track ends, and then it's just the click track going for a little while, and then you turn off the click track, and then it's just you in the moment with the congregation, with the one person in the room even, or if it's just you in your own setting whenever you're practicing or something, that song ends, and you really get to stretch yourself. You begin to see where you're at with God, see where your heart is, where you're wrestling, where God wants to take you in those moments is really whenever stuff begins to open up. And so that just pulls me so hard every time. And that's really what I love about it.
Now you mentioned about like the different prayer rooms you were involved in Kansas City, and then of course you're involved in our prayer room. Are all prayer rooms basically the same? Is each one different? In what ways are they alike? And which ways are they different? Would you say? Because you have a lot more experience with that than like me. I've only been in our prayer room, but
right. Yeah, I would say there's definitely a difference. I could go into an all nations prayer room and their prayer set is focused on the underground church of China. It's mainly going to be the cultures that are coming into it is going to be different. So like our culture here, very heavily focused on Louisiana focused, and also it's more intimate. Our prayer room is very intimate prayer room where we were not going to have really a bunch of big, loud crescendoing moments. In our prayer room, we don't have a flag section, stuff like that you'll see in other prayer rooms. And so that's the biggest difference is that whenever you play in these bigger prayer rooms, you can find there's some corporate worship moments, which are great, which are fantastic. It's in a prayer room setting also. But I find ours leans more towards the intimate heart moments and kind of allows you to kind of go where the Lord is taking you in that moment. And it allows the group that's in the building to be able to intercede with him more personally than if it was, hey, let's bring the whole congregation with us kind of deal.
that's good. In fact, that actually kind of leads me into the next thing I was going to ask, because through our different seasons of life, we've gotten involved in the prayer room for different reasons or different pullings or drawings. Like, what's the thing that draws you now? Like that pulls you in now. And I was going to actually say my answer to that question was going to be, for me, it is about the fact that we have like so much opportunity to be intimate with God. It's really one of my favorite things in the prayer room right now. It's just it's a place where I can go, whether I'm on stage or whether it's a time where I'm at the table doing a Bible study or whatever. It's just being able to go and be with him there, I love it. I love being there, just being in the room.
Yeah. For me, it was, like, especially coming back, because I haven't played bass in probably 6 or 7 years before I started playing in the prayer room again. And so that big change for me was honestly, my personal time with the Lord. Normally it had been previously whenever I was playing bass a lot was I'd play my bass in my room or whatever. And that was my alone time, was playing the bass with the Lord and just speaking to him with the bass kind of thing, speaking to him through the music was a lot of my alone time. And then in the season where I wasn't playing bass, it kind of, my alone time became more sporadic, where I wasn't being intentional with spending that alone time with him that I needed to, that I was before. And so I noticed a lot of things change in me through that, not being as in tune with what the Lord was saying to me, kind of falling behind on where I should have kept going, the Lord trying to tell me the same thing over and over and over again, me not getting it because I wasn't spending enough time to be able to recognize his voice in that season. A lot of things like that. And so whenever I began to get the itch to just play again originally, I was like, well, I really want to play in the perm if I'm going to play, because I want to have that outlet of, number one, to spend time intimacy with the Lord, to be intimate with him. It's such a, and we say intimate, like we're not trying to be loose with the word, but it's just the most apt way of describing it. Like there's the closeness of your heart to heart with him the whole time for the 2 hours that you're up there with him, just communing with him. And he might be pushing back on you a little bit for you to give up a little bit more to him and stuff like that. So it's that part of it. And then also, I won't lie, it's a big part of, I wanted the creative outlet. I like being creative, and especially with music, that's my favorite way to be creative. And Purim is the best way for me to be creative because it allows the space for it. I love playing on Sunday mornings. I play on our team at the family church on Sunday mornings for 2 weeks a month. And I do love that. And that's a fantastic thing to play in corporate worship and stuff. And we do our 3 songs and we do a tag and stuff. We have a little bit of room, but for the most part, it's not, oh, hey, I can sit here on these 4 chords for 20 minutes and the Lord can move on that. And then you and Trista will sing a chorus and then I'll be able to play a melody off of that, or things like that. It's the push and pull of an intercession of a worship with the word that we get to have with the Lord. You don't get that every single day of playing corporate worship where you do in the prayer. It's a push and pull every step of the way. So that's really where I'm at right now, is I love the push and pull.
Yeah, I agree. You brought up leading worship, being part of the worship team on Sundays. Well, I was laughing about, I'm like, man, between the two of us, we probably, I don't even know how many years of leading worship experience we have. Because I mean, we both have led worship in junior high services, in senior high services, and main church Sundays. Like we have quite a bit of playing on stage experience between the two of us. And you're right. There is a difference between leading a corporate worship session and leading a prayer set. So, what are one of the things that you think is different about that?
The first thing I think of between your 20, 30-minute worship set on a Sunday morning and a 2-hour set in a prayer room is the sets on Sunday morning is focused towards getting the congregation to go with you where y'all want to go and worship. Whereas our 2-hour sets, we're not doing it so that the crowd can have an amazing worship experience and stuff. We're doing it because it's our heart's cry to the Lord in that moment. And whether or not you want to join in on that, that's fine. You can go and read a book in the prayer room, and that's great. The Lord thinks that's wonderful. Whereas on a 20-minute worship set, as being a worship leader, and I know you said I worship, I'm not, in the common sense of the word worship leader, the way I view it personally, and I was telling someone this the other day, and I realized not everyone thinks about this, but this is great for musicians to hear, I think, is that anyone on stage is a worship leader.
Correct.
You are leading those people into worship because you are the example now. As soon as you step on stage, every eye is going to see you at some point. So you are leading that into worship. So whenever I step on stage, I do think of myself, I am a worship leader. I'm not going to have a mic that anyone can hear. I might have a talk back and that's it. But I know I'm leading into worship with the facilities that I've been given. I have not been blessed with a singing voice, not like you. And so I'm fine with that and know that the Lord has blessed me with my ability to lead in the way that I can. And so I think that's the big difference of 20-minute worship set is all about the congregation moving together. And the 2 hours is, hey, we're going here. You can jump in or not. Wherever you feel you are is best.
Right. Yeah. The 2 hours is not saying, oh, I'm going to do this and you can do whatever you want. It's not like in a negative way. It's just that we have, as the team on stage, we have a outline of what we're trying to accomplish or go through. And we'll talk about the different types of sets in a little bit. And the opportunity is there for anybody that wants to be a part of it. But there's times when people come in and they have a seat and they're doing their Bible study. I guess you could say in some ways like a 20-minute worship service is like plowing the field before the pastor preaches and the seed is sown. Whereas somebody that's in a 2-hour prayer set, it's more like going outside and sitting in the garden and you're pulling weeds and you're just spending time in the garden with your hands in the dirt. And that's kind of, for anybody that does like gardening, I know that's kind of, I guess you could say like the difference is.
Yeah, what would you say? Like, obviously, we go into these prayer room sets and stuff, and even on Sunday mornings. For me, I'm a big gearhead. I'll talk about that in a second. But like for you, what is kind of your gear setup? What do you kind of do? I mean, I see it, but it's already set up whenever I get there. I don't really get to inspect it like I want to all the time.
No, it's pretty simple. I get my my microphone set up and my mic stand and my music stand, and I can got my little table with my drink and everything kind of set up like I like it. But as far as like my musically speaking with my guitar, it's pretty straightforward. I have an electric acoustic, and so I wirelessly connect into that to basically it's a lapel mic pack, and then but I have a converter that goes to a 1/4-inch jack which I plug in, and so it really is just a straight guitar. Yeah, very clean sound. I'm not looking for a lot of extra with my acoustic. Yeah, that's real simple as far as that's concerned. And then of course, I like my setup on my table all a certain way. I think everybody has like their own little setup, how they like with my big old Yeti sitting on top of my table. I have to set up my stuff in a way because like it used to be I would just come and set up all my stuff. And then one time Trish, like I looked over to see Felicia singing and all I saw was Josh on his Yeti right in front of me. I'm like, oh yeah. So I have to like set up my stuff. I'm like, can you see through? But that logistically speaking, sometimes you got to make sure you set up that way. But as far as instrumentally, that it's pretty simple.
And now, what about like musically? You often will come to firm and we're going through a bunch of different songs and stuff. And so I've had people ask like, well, y'all just jump through a bunch of different songs. How do you even know that? Like what song you're going to? So explain a little bit about how we handle that.
Yeah. So when I get there, typically like for example, a Saturday, Tristan's leading the set, so she's picked all the songs. Well, they'll be on my podium. She'll have them all set up for me, which is great, and I really appreciate that. I'll get my guitar while the devotional set's going on, and I'll kind of get up there and I'll flip through the music and I'll kind of look at the chords and I'll kind of figure it out myself. I'm like, oh, I'm going to capo this on capo 3, or I'm going to do this on capo 2, or I'm going to move around it to make it easier for me. So I do my finger arrangements the way that I want. And I'll kind of go through each song mentally, just kind of flip through real quick and say, okay. And this is what we're going to flow on. And that way, whenever she's like, hey, we're going to do cycle 1 or cycle 2, I've looked at it and I'm familiar and I know where I'm going to go to be where she wants to go, and that's nice. I try to do the same thing. If I'm leading, I do the same thing for her, make things a little easier for her as well. Yeah. How about you? Because I know your setups, it's a little more involved. I've noticed that you got to get there a little early, and it's really, I like check out your stuff because it's cool.
Yeah. So I have 2 different basses I've been using recently. I have a 5-string Lakeland bass that I've had for 10 plus years now.
So pretty. It's so
pretty. Shout out to Jordan Muller, who's our other bassist at church, who got me into Lakeland guitars. I love it. And then my other bass that I play is a new one that I got actually this year. Whenever I got back into playing a lot, I was like, I want a new one. And it's a 4-string Fender P bass, which is just kind of the classic sound that anyone will know whenever they hear a bass. And I have a pedal board. I got big into pedals whenever I was in Kansas City playing in college and stuff, and it just allows for so many different sounds that you can do with your pedal board and stuff. So yeah, I have a pedal board with a tuner on it, so it's a tuner. I can mute my signal anytime I need tune up, and then it goes straight into a compressor where compress my signal so any low notes can sound a little bit louder, any super loud notes, so it can kind of be more even, compress the signal a little bit more. Okay. Then it goes straight into a Keeley Caverns, which is it's a reverb and delay pedal mixed together. So one side is reverb, one side is delay, and I can really get those ethereal sounds, almost electric sounding sounds sometimes.
That makes sense, because there have been some times I've heard, I'm like, what's he playing over?
Yeah, I can get really high on the neck cool. and get more ethereal sounds because, like you said, we play with a lot of space. Mm-hmm. We don't always need a big thuddy, big old grounding bass guitar sound in the mix whenever we're playing some of these cycles. And so it allows me to have a different sound. And then I also have a JHS Kilt V1, which is another shout out to Micah Vidrine, who's a guitarist at church, who just had this pedal laying around that I had been looking for, and he knew I'd been looking for it. So he found it in his closet one Sunday, brought it to me. He's like, "Hey, here you go. Like, use it for however long you want. I haven't used it in years." So that's a overdrive distortion pedal a little bit. And actually, this past Saturday, from recording this, we played a set in one of our cycles. It just kind of got more. It felt like it needed more grit to it. So I put on a little distortion on it and just muted with my palm and got out a pick even, and started do and like high up on the neck and almost giving a rhythmic electric to it. And it just turned out great in that moment for what it needed, and just for a short amount of time, not a big long time, but things like that pedal allowed me to do that in the moment. And then I go straight to a Aguilar tone hammer, which is my tone shaper EQ pedal, which just allows me to really get the sound that I want out of my basses into the front of house. And so that's my pedal board setup. And then basically on the basses, though, it's hard to choose each week for me which one I want to play. But yeah, that's my basic setup. Okay. I want more pedals. Katie doesn't want me to get more pedals, but yeah, I'm very much addicted to gear whenever I play. So it's very fun.
You also do something else kind of cool that I noticed as well. You actually set up your phone in a way where I've seen you record it a few times, right? How does that work exactly?
Yeah, so I started actually recording stuff because I just wanted to hear myself back and be able to learn from myself playing, and hey, I could fix this, I could do this differently. This was a great moment. I need to add this to my repertoire. I need to practice it actually after doing it in the set and stuff. And so yeah, I got my phone. I kind of looked up on YouTube. I had been watching a couple different bass players from around the country. Some people that I knew, some people that I didn't, and just kind of started looking at what do they use to record there. Because every time I listen to them, I'm like, they're not listening to the front of house mix because I can hear the bass so heavy, and that's never in the front of house like that. But I just wanted that, and so I looked it up, and there's an iRig little plug-in that you can plug into your phone, and you plug in your in-ear pack. I split the cable, and I send one to my phone through the iRig system, and that records my in-ear mix. And then I posted it on YouTube. I posted a couple videos now, some from the prayer room, some from Sunday mornings. And at first it was just for me to watch them back and learn from them, but I'm starting to get 50, 100 views on some videos and stuff like that. It's pretty fun. If it gets 0 views, if it gets 100, whatever, it might help somebody learn to play the song. Because I've even learned to play songs from YouTube. I see this bass player playing, say, What a God. We played that on one Sunday morning. I go watch a bass cam video, and it's someone playing the bass, and it's straight on, so I can see their hands. I can see how they're plucking, if they're playing with a pick, at where it's at, all that kind of stuff. And every bass player is going to play it differently too. So I can see where their instrument is going to be different than the record's instrument. Things like that. You can pick up different things. And so I was like, maybe it helps some people, because some of the songs that I've posted haven't been posted before on YouTube, or I can't find them for a bass player, because we play some songs that are 13, 15 years old from, Misty Edwards or something like that. Right. And so, or Matt Gilman, I think we played Holy. And, I don't think I've ever seen a bass cover of Holy on YouTube. So yeah, I'm just posting that, and it's been fun for me, because now I get to go back and listen to some of the moments that we have. Mm-hmm. That's a really great thing for me too, because sometimes I'll be driving for work, and I just want to relive that moment. I just want to go back to where the Lord was in that moment. And I just remember the Lord speaking so prominently in that moment. Oh, let me go back and just get back in that mode a little bit. And so I can go back and listen to that exact moment because I've recorded it now.
Right. That's very cool. Yeah, there have been times, I know, because we started recording some of our sets, the live sets as well. And because it's funny, because we'll have moments where, the Holy Spirit moves and we'll sing something prophetically, which we'll get to that in just a little bit. But, and then afterwards, we oh yeah, remember that thing you sang? Oh yeah, it was nothing. Gone. It was just nothing. And I was like, man, I wish I had that recorded, So it's nice to have the recording, but to go back and kind of say, oh yeah, that was a cool moment, I kind of like that. Kind of reminds me of like in the Old Testament, they would make they would put rocks down to memorialize that moment that they had, with somebody or that with God or whatever. And every time they go back to that well, they would remember that experience or that moment. And it's kind of like that in a way, it's cool. So let's talk a little bit about the type of sets that we have. we do typically in our prayer room, we do two types of sets. We do worship with the word and we do intercession. Our intercession sets are pretty straightforward. We'll have a worship song followed by a prayer leader who's leading the prayer focus. And then we'll open it up to do like an open mic for rapid fire where people can come up that want to pray for about 30 seconds or less, get up and say a quick prayer over that particular focus. And we'll break down our intercession sets are typically an hour long. We'll do 4 focuses. So that breaks down about 15 minutes per. You get like a 5-minute worship followed by a 5-minute prayer leader followed by 5 minutes of rapid fire, give or take, And that's nice. It's very structured, very easy moving, it's nice. I like it in that it's, there's not a lot of stress. There's not a lot of, what if we go fast? What if we go slow? Whatever, really a lot of times for me, I have to like really kind of pull back, I like to just really dive into those songs. And so like, I have to like, okay, Josh, you're going to sing the song and then you're going to pass it over so that there's time. And so it kind of helps me because I have to kind of keep my guardrails on. Then we get to the worship with the word, which is great because there's no guardrails and I can just kind of like do what I want. And, but that's a little bit more open-ended where basically what we're doing with worship with the word is, we're picking a particular section of scripture and we're breaking it down. We're kind of going through line by line, sometimes not even verse by verse. It's like, phrase by phrase within each verse. And then interjecting worship songs throughout at different points, wherever they fit. And we'll sometimes break those down into focuses just to kind of give us a general idea of like, we got 3 focuses for an hour. So like if we're in focus, if we're, 40 minutes in and we're still on focus 1, I'm like, okay, we definitely not getting through this thing. But it kind of gives us an idea of where we're at and what we need to do. And so that's nice, but just really kind of gives it that freedom. We'll do a worship song here. We'll pray the prayer leader will, read the scripture, then pray about the scripture, and then they'll pass it on to us as the worship leaders and the singers, and we'll kind of bounce back and forth with just singing about the verse, singing about what the prayer leader said, singing about what the other singer sang, and kind of bouncing that back and forth and do that. And we'll just kind of rotate through in that way. That's pretty much basically how it goes in your worship with the word. I mean, I know you're familiar with that, but for those that are watching that aren't familiar, when we say the worship with the word set or the intercession set, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, great information. Now let's think a little bit about the creativity that you have, the creative liberty really that you have in each of those sets. I know you said intercession is a little bit more subdued for you personally because you like to go a little bit longer, stretch out things, but even then there's still creative liberty in there. How do you feel that is in these sets that we have there? I mean, there's 2 hours. So
I love the creative part of it because like I said, like we were saying earlier, all the way back before I even knew what a prayer room was, my favorite part of it was after the song ended. We said that multiple times today. And it's true. Like when you get to that end part, and that's what we're doing in the prayer room. Sometimes I'm singing the song to get through the song so that I can get to that part. It's kind of how it feels. It's almost kind of like, okay, enjoy the worship song while you're in it too. Because sometimes that's great too. There was something. These songs are written by people that were experiencing a moment, having maybe walking through something, and so the lyrics of the songs are so important. I don't want to be, belittle them, put them down as if they're unimportant.
There's
That's
a reason
not the
we're
case.
playing them 15 years later.
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly. There's a reason that it's still being used. And some of them even older than that, 40 and 50 years, we're using those songs. So I like breaking out some older songs sometimes, even hymns. And so we'll do those songs, and then we get to the more of the free part where we just kind of sing whatever you're feeling, and that's great. And what it's even better is whenever the prayer leader starts to pray something, and then they'll be praying something, and I'll hear a phrase or something. It'll trigger something within me, whether it's something that I was reading in the scriptures in my Bible study or whatever, and it kind of will stir something up inside of me, and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's cool. And sometimes it's like I'll get like a chorus, a full 4-line chorus, and it's awesome. Sometimes it's literally like 3 or 4 words, and it comes to me and it's my turn, and I'll start singing those 3 or 4 words, and then sometimes I'll sing those 3 or 4 words, and there's not really anything after that. That's about it. I'll say my phrase, maybe add a little tag on the end of that, and then pass it on to the next singer, and hopefully they've got something. Other times I'll say those 3 or 4 words, and then after those words, there's another phrase that comes up, and I'll sing those, and then after that, another phrase comes up, and And so it's really kind of neat to watch. I love seeing how it develops. Like sometimes it's real simple. Trista jokes that she's like, she can always depend on me that I'm going to sing. There's something going to come out of my mouth. And so I'm willing to do it, because I'll just sing whatever I'm feeling in the moment. And then sometimes it leads to something else. And this really kind of neat. Sometimes we have there's been many times where I've had this kind of a real intimate, moving experience that started off somewhere else. I had a feeling of that God was going to, that I needed to sing this line. And then by the time we get to where God was actually bringing us, it's like, wow, I didn't even know where he was bringing me. And we get there. It's just cool. It's neat. Having that liberty to walk through it, really it's because what you do, you really are lyrically walking to the moment. How about for you as an instrumentalist?
As a musician, it was honest. It was actually a hard transition for me. Going back to whenever I was in first got to college in Kansas City, playing in prayer rooms and stuff. It was a hard transition for me in my brain first to understand, hey, this might not be right for this song that we just came out of, or this chord progression that we're now sitting in, but my heart, the Lord is saying, this is what I want you to play in that moment. And I think back to actually a recent one where we had a set on a Saturday maybe a month or two ago, and we were playing 3 chords just over and over again, just 3 chords over and over again. And me, instead of playing the root note of that, I decided I'm going to play thirds on all of it. And just to change it a little bit. And so I'm playing a major, minor, major, just all the way through for maybe 15 minutes. I play that. And naturally, if I'm playing on a song, that's going to clash somewheres because there's going to be a guitarist that's playing ninths and 13ths and stuff. And so we're going to be fighting each other in the mix. And if we're playing in a full song, but because we're able to have the space to kind of mix it up a bit, it doesn't clash. And then on top of that, Trista might hear me playing that and maybe she'll take off the middle. She might take off her third on her chords whenever she's playing or something, or she may instead of playing the third play the flat 7, or just be able to change up things a little bit differently. And so I found that I had to change my brain first to allow my heart to be able to move in those situations, because your brain's telling you no, because no, that's not what the song says, but that's not what the song says. And so I'm reading the paper and I'm like, but it says I should be playing this. But then my heart, the Lord has stirred something in me in that moment. And that's part of, playing through the set. I'm listening while I'm playing more than anything. The more you listen, the more you can play, is what I try and tell myself all the time. Because the more I'm listening to the Lord, the more I'm listening to the singers, to what each part of the band is doing, the more I get inspired and my heart moves to play things. If y'all sing a melody that moves in a certain way or something, and my heart is moved by that melody, well, I want to play that naturally because my heart's being moved by it. Yeah. So I'll find that sometime melody on the bass and I'll play it with it if it's a walking melody or something. And my ear isn't the greatest, so I know I'm not figuring this out on my own, because my ear honestly is not that perfect. And so using the heart is so big for me in those moments. My ear's not the best, but I know that whenever my heart catches something, the Lord will use me to go into that all the time. And it's happened so many times, even in the prayer room a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago or so. I don't remember exactly when, but Trista and y'all are singing the chorus, and Trista's leading the chorus. And all of a sudden, this one time she does a walk down in her melody line that she's singing, and the chords don't call for that. But the very next time, it moved me so much that first time, like it just grabbed me so fast and so hard. And so the very next time she goes to sing it, just naturally I played the walk down and it happened to be right. Thank the Lord. But he had put it on my heart so hard that first time that as soon as that second time came up, I caught it and just went with it for the rest of that chorus, however 5-10 minutes of that chorus that we were on. And it's funny, the first time that I played the walk down, I was recording it, and you could literally hear Trista in the middle of her chorus. She hears me play it, and you can hear her smile while she's singing because she hears the bass walking with her in that moment. And so it's a big thing about listening to everyone else. It creates a habitat of creativity
Yeah.
where you don't always get in other scenarios. And I find that because we have such an intimate prayer room, I'm able to listen so intently to what each one of us are doing. You know, whenever we play on Saturdays, it's only 3 of us up there. It's 3 instruments and 2 voices and then a prayer leader.
Right.
So there's not too much going on where you might not be able to hear the second keys player all the time, or you might not hear the second electric player all the time. But no, I can keep all of y'all up in my ears and not have my ears blowing out or something. And I can hear exactly what y'all are doing. You know, at this last set on Saturday, I started playing a 4 minor just at the end, just because I wanted a little flash, because y'all's voices would kind of go down on a minor.
I heard when you did that, and I was like, in fact, I heard you doing it. I'm like, ooh, I like that. I'm going to try playing the minor right there. I know exactly what part you're talking about. That was cool. That was very cool.
And that was just in a flow moment. It was at the very end of the set, too. I think it was our last choruses that we were doing. And just y'all's voices were starting to attune down a little bit. And so I just stretched it to a minor and, you know, allowed those moments. That's where the creative liberty comes. That's what really gets me fired up whenever I'm playing bass, and especially whenever I'm worshiping the Lord with the bass. Is those creative moments is where I find He grabs me the most.
That's cool, because some people may look at that and be like, oh yeah, you're being creative within it because you're just trying to do something that's different or whatever. But in reality, that's not what's happening. It's the Holy Spirit's moving you, which is why you nailed it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because had you just been doing that like in your bedroom, it may not have been the same way. Like playing it with a song you heard on the radio, you'd have to like, nope, that's not. But in the moment when the Holy Spirit moved you, you went to it and you just like crushed it right away. That's cool. I like that. Do you ever feel like you get stuck in a flow cycle? And if you do, how do you deal with that? Like, how do you handle it?
Yeah, I do feel stuck in some cycles.
Like, a lot of times our cycles are simple. Yeah. Typically, we try to keep them as simple as possible.
Which is honestly the best thing. Yeah. Because the more simple you keep it, that means the more complex you can get with the additives. So if you keep it, hey, we're doing these 3 chords and we're doing it at a slower tempo, you know, maybe we're doing 8 counts instead of 4 for each note or something. It gives that space that we love so much for the Lord to be able to move in the pauses, is where I like to say of like the Lord moves in the pauses in between what you're saying, what you're playing, where the note is actually struck. The Lord is trying to move you into these areas also. And so I find that whenever I get stuck, I almost do exactly the same thing that I would do in quiet time with the Lord, where I recenter myself. So my natural inclination is whenever I get stuck in a flow chord, so whenever I'm on flow chords, 4 chords, say I'm playing a 1, 5, 6, 4, and we're just playing that over and over, and I feel stuck. I feel stagnant in this, or the choruses might not be flowing or something. You know, my thought process is, let's hang on a 6 right here for 16 counts. And just kind of stir the pot a little bit. So if you're in the key of A, you just sit on the F sharp minor for a minute. You know, let's just pause here.
There's something special about a minor chord. I agree. It stirs something in you. It totally does.
So I just want to sit on a 6 minor of an F sharp minor in the key of A or something, and just allow the Lord to start to push me where He wants to push me. Yeah. You know, because sometimes you can get into flow chords and you can feel like you're maybe fighting against what the Lord has for you. You know, what you came into the set preparing, because you prepare your flow chords before your set normally. Right. Whenever you go through your set list before, you will pick out, okay, these are the flow chords we want for this chorus cycle. This is the next ones and stuff. But sometimes you can feel like you clash a little bit, where the Lord wants to take you in the moment, because the moments can change so fast. Mm-hmm. If the Lord is like, hey, I want to bring you into this right now, you know, where you had a preconceived notion of, we'll go into this. So I find sitting on that 6 just allows the Lord to kind of, you kind of get to wipe away that preconceived notion and really allow the Lord to, hey, what are you saying right now? Right. And I think that's a big thing for me in those moments of what's the Lord saying right now for me? So let me slow myself down, rather than worrying about playing this progression and playing in between, or what can I add here or do this and stuff. Because even I can find myself, even I go in with the best of intentions, I can find myself just trying to be amazing musically. And I played this during the week in practice and stuff, and so I really want to try it out here. But it's not what the Lord wants, you know. But I'm starting to force things, and so it can strip away that and allow me to recenter myself, refocus myself in those moments. But what about you? I mean, you might look at it differently as a singer and a musician. You probably see it differently.
Right. I was going to say, like, a lot of times for me, because I am also trying to think of words and lyrics and things to sing or whatever, trying to tune into that side of me. A lot of times, the simpler the better it comes with guitar playing or whatever. But if I do feel like I'm kind of like, I don't want to say it's a rut because that's not really what it is. But if I feel like I'm just kind of stuck in a, 3-chord progression or 4-chord progression, I will inflect. Maybe I'll pull back. I'll start playing softer and more kind of picking at it and kind of do something like that, or I'll try to strum harder to give like a little bit of a crescendo of sound, kind of build, maybe hit hard on the 1 and then go softer, and then hit on the 1 and the 3 and then come a little harder, to kind of give it that little bit of a kind of those hits, and I'll do that instrumentally. A lot of times when we're doing a flow, there's a tendency sometimes in certain chord progressions that the melody falls into the same rhythm, and so I'll notice if I'm singing in a chorus and then Trista will sing a chorus and then I'll sing a chorus and it will kind of go back and forth, and we're kind of staying like that same melodic flow each time. I'll jump up an octave just to throw something totally different, or I'll pull off and start off really low or soft or whatever to add a little bit of a dynamic difference, so I feel like I can go somewhere else. Or I'll come in, instead of coming in on the 1, come in on the 4, to start earlier to kind of give it like a different vocal feeling, to give it a different tempo in the way that I'm releasing the words. That way it gives it a different feel so I don't get stuck. Feel like I'm singing da 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 the whole time to give it like a different, rhythmic feel as well. So in both ways, it's a little different, but you're right though. Instrumentally speaking, it's almost like if I can get in a stuck in a flow is actually kind of a good place instrumentally because I'm not thinking about it as much. When I start thinking about the chords, that's whenever I really get myself in trouble. And I'm like, and it's my turn to sing something. I'm like, oh, I was just trying to figure out what chord to play next. I'm like, G. So that could be a little tricky sometimes. But so in that way, it's it just depends. Let's talk about favorite time in the prayer room. I know you have a lot of time in different prayer rooms.
Yeah.
And it could be in our prayer room. It could be when you're in Kansas City. Is there like a one moment that sticks out in your mind? Is like that maybe marked you more than some of the others?
Yeah. Man, I remember this so vividly. And it was from years ago. It was in prayer room in Kansas City. And I was 15 at the time. We were there for a summer trip, and it was a couple days after I had finished my music camp over there. We would always stay a couple days, me and Trista, just to be around Kansas City, go sit in the prayer room an extra couple days, kind of deal. And I remember sitting in the prayer room, and I'm sitting in the back room waiting for prophecy, and we would sit in the back rows waiting to be called into our prophecy rooms to get it done and stuff. And there's a set going on, and I don't remember her first name, but the bass player's last name was Larson. I actually ended up going to school with her little sister later on, but she was playing bass, and I don't even remember who else was on stage. I couldn't tell you who the worship leader was, but I know Larson was playing the bass, and they were playing a couple cycles, and I mean, just the melodies that she came up with on the bass and the rhythmic structures she came up with on the bass just grabbed me instantly and stuff, to the point where I was just sitting there just soaking it in the very back of the prayer room. I never sit in the back of the prayer room whenever I go. I'm like normally in the first couple sections and stuff. I like to be close and stuff to everything. And so I'm sitting there, and at first I felt disconnected because I was so far back. I felt like, oh, I'm not going to get much out of this. And I had almost began to write off the moment myself. But the Lord took that almost like a challenge, it felt like. And he just grabbed me harder and just took me into his presence in that moment while I'm just sitting there waiting for prophecy room to be called, to the point where I had to stand up and go like kind of just be on the side and just kind of not be stuck in this chair next to two other people,
Right.
to be able to get away and just have that moment and stuff. And just, I remember that so vividly as a 15-year-old. This was before I had decided to go to school there or anything like that. It was just a moment for me. And I remember being so upset whenever we did get called in the prophecy room because they were still playing the set. And it was another cycle, but it was still so good. And my mom, Trista comes over like, hey, they're calling this into the, oh, it's okay, fine. You know, we go to the prophecy. It was a great prophecy, I'm sure, but I don't remember that. I remember the set before.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was just maybe 2015, 2014 in the summer. I still remember it to this day that Lars said, I could probably play the melody if I had a bass in my hand right now. It was so strongly in my heart.
That is so cool. Probably mine, strangely enough, and this is interesting because for either one of us, I'd say probably one of the biggest moments was not when we were on stage, which is kind of interesting. That's something kind of important, I think. But I can't remember, honestly, like I don't even remember which set it was. I don't even remember if we were in our prayer room before it was a prayer room or if it was in Kansas City. I can't remember now. But I was in a set. It was just a devotional. I was in there and I just really felt like the Lord told me, because at this point in time, I wasn't leading a set yet. I wanted to. I knew that one day I was going to lead a prayer set and I wanted to do that. And I was like, one day in the future, that's going to happen. But like, I didn't know when, I didn't know how it was going to happen or whatever. But I really felt like God told me, start. Like, stop waiting for the prayer room to show up to do this. Do it now, you know. And I went home that day and I talked to my wife and I was like, Janie, and I was like, babe, I was like, I want to lead a set. I was like, I don't know what that looks like. I don't care if it's just me up on the stage playing guitar for an hour or whatever. Just I need to do it, and I'm not gonna wait anymore. And Jerry was like, that's funny you said that because I was actually gonna talk to you about wanting to lead a set, and we went to talk to Trista about it, and that was actually the beginning of our Saturday night sets. It was the first time because at that time we would do Saturday afternoons. And we would meet every other Saturday with our prayer team. And we'd meet for a few hours for just a devotional set or whatever, or intercession. Can't remember what it was. Doesn't matter. Anyway, we'd have like a prayer meeting every other Saturday. And then we'd be off on a Saturday. And so we asked if we could do one on that Saturday we were off. We wanted to turn that into a live set that night. And we started doing it then. And that was the first actual live set that I was leading. I had been part of other sets where Trista was leading and different things like that, but that was the first thing where I was leading what I would call a prayer set, you know, an actual intercession or a worship with the word set. And that was such a pivotal turn in my life because that was where I realized I could do this. Like I could still, because my idea in my brain was that I had to be like, whereas like a 24-hour set, I was waiting for like that opportunity to show itself. Like, we need somebody to lead this prayer set. Come do it, Josh, you know, which was dumb. I wanted to do it. I just needed to do it. And that was like the moment where that all kind of shifted and changed. And it was in a moment where I wasn't leading a set yet, you know, which is cool.
Yeah, I love that both of our answers are times that we're not on stage. It's such a big thing that I think most people don't realize is that the stage is amazing, and we love that creativity, that in communion with God. But the real deep moments that really grow you happen off of it. You know, that because whenever we come on stage, now we're giving what we have, what we've received. We're now pouring out, you know, onto the Lord, up to the Lord, and what He's already worked on us all week and stuff, all our years of our lives, you know. That's whenever we really start pouring it out. But off stage is whenever we have those gripping moments that stick with you for longer, more than just the music, more than just the melodies and stuff like that. The great question about you know, being prophetic and stuff in the prayer room. How do you know whenever you're singing prophetically or whenever you're just relying on a musical skill or your singing ability and stuff like that? How do you juggle that as a singer?
That's a great question. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, how Trista can trust me that I'm going to sing something. Some of that is natural. I don't know if it'd be talent. For years, I have sang the wrong lyrics during worship services.
Very famously.
I'm famous. I am famous for singing the wrong words during worship services all the time. Or if I can't remember, I'll just kind of make it up. You know, that's just kind of something that I do. Sometimes I kind of wing it. And so that kind of comes to me naturally. It's a natural gifting that I have in that area to be able to kind of be a little bit creative in that. But there is a difference, so that's where I was talking earlier, where like I'll start singing something and then all of a sudden something will unfold that I wasn't expecting. And my wife tells me, she said she knows. She's heard me lead enough that she could tell whenever it's just me singing and whenever it's the Holy Spirit giving me words to sing and there's a propheticness of it, there's a shift in how I sound. And I mean, I could feel it with, in my, just talking about it right now, it's like I could feel the Holy Spirit moving, and it's something I feel within me that kind of raises up within me, kind of wells up inside, and it's very, very cool. And I love it. That's kind of like using a sports analogy, like if you've played golf, everybody talks about the golfers, like they're always looking for the next perfect shot when you hit the ball and it just comes off the club perfectly and it lays perfectly on the green, and you're always looking to get that, and that's that next shot. It's kind of like that in the prayer room, in the way of like in that moment, that's like that sweet shot. Like you do something and it feels great. The melody was perfect. There's times where I was making stuff up on the fly, Holy Spirit moving me, that it actually rhymed. Like one time Jane was like, "Look at Josh, he's like singing lyrics that rhyme. That's great." I'm like, "I know, it just kind of came out that way." And unintended, but it's like this perfect sweet shot, and it's great. I love it when that happens. It doesn't always happen that way, but that would be like, lyrically speaking, that's it. How about musically?
Yeah. Musically, for me, I find like, so it's mainly melodic stuff for me. As a bass player, you're not so. I'm self-taught musician and stuff like that growing up and stuff, just mainly because my schedule was too busy. We tried to do mini lessons growing up. My parents, they tried to do lessons for me. I think I meant to maybe 2 lessons with Brenda Benoit at one point. And my schedule had got some sports this and after school this and all these different things being pulled different directions. That's kind of one of the things that fell through the crack. But I had such great teachers in the moment. Rachel Baldwin, fantastic teacher growing up for me. Really just instilling confidence in me mainly was the biggest thing. As a 12-year-old bass player up there on the junior high stage, you just need confidence. Because everything else, I don't think it matters too much. You just need confidence to pluck the strings hard. And so that was the way I learned. And so I've never had any classical training or ear training or anything like that. And so, like we talked about earlier, me playing those melodic lines that you guys would sing, that's not a natural thing for me. And so whenever those moments happen, I can tell it's not me, because I would not be playing this well. Like you said, if I try to figure out, it's this one. It's so different than if I'm trying to do it in my own. But whenever the Lord uses my hands and body through me, is whenever those moments really happen. And one of the first sets I played, it might have been the first week I played in the prayer room earlier this year. I posted it on the YouTube. What's the chorus? Is Holy Fire. Holy fire raining down.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's a long one though, but it's very melodically, it changes a lot, right? And so y'all sang it one time, and the very next time, for some reason, I understood it. Oh, yeah. And it was, I remember. I hit every note while y'all were going through it. And I ended up posting on YouTube, going like, "This is awesome. I want to keep this forever and be able to go back and listen to it." It's only like 2 minutes long or whatever, but it just came out of me. Yeah. If you asked me to play it right now, I probably couldn't in the moment. Just like, but those moments is whenever I really see that it happens. And then the melody stuff, that just not natural to me. Yeah. So whenever it does happen, I can kind of recognize it and I start to lean into it. Mm-hmm. I almost would like, so a lot of times, so like I'm very comfortable on my basses. I'm still getting used to my 4-string. Haven't played it as long. So, but on that 5-string, I can be anywhere on the neck, close my eyes. I know exactly where I am. I can move effortlessly around the neck and just know where I'm at. And so it allows me to lean in more. Almost, I can just close my eyes and just focus in on what he's trying to say to me in that moment. With the melody, with the choruses that you guys are singing, what you're playing, what Trista's saying, what the prayer leader is saying, or whatever the rapid fire is on the floor. Like, it allows me to kind of lean into it more. And I find that's whenever I notice those prophetic moments come out. I find that my bass starts doing stuff almost on its own. It feels like it's almost an out of body experience, because I'm just here with the Lord, and the Lord's just saying, just moving my hands forward. That's what it feels like in the moment as a musician. That's just what the feeling I have. Yeah, it's so powerful too, because you get those moments. And even this past week, you know, we had a really great set this past week. I feel like musically, melodically, the prayer leaders were on point. The rapid fire was fantastic. Like, it was just great. And this is actually the first time that me and Katie has been on stage together since I've been playing and stuff like that. So that was a really great moment also. And riding back home, we're driving back home, me and Katie, to go pick up Abram and go home. And she's like, man, I could just tell you just had the Lord in your hands in those moments. Like he was just moving through you. And that boosted my confidence also, because I felt like that too. But you don't always know if it translates, right? Especially musically. Most 90% of the time, a non-musician is not going to notice if I play a 4 minor here instead of a 4 major. They're just not going to notice, which is fine, you know, but the Lord notices. That's why I do it. And so her saying that, like, maybe like, oh man, it really was like, that was the Lord. You know, that was not me at all. You know, for someone else to realize that that's the Lord.
I just love that. And of course, probably the best part, or one of the best parts of being able to do this, is that we get to do it together. You know, I would say that in the prayer room, the community that we have cultivated within our prayer team is second to none. Like, the fact that we get to do this together, like you said, you were leading on stage with your wife. I often get to lead on stage with my wife. You know, we're both really good friends with Trista. I mean, she's your mom.
I'm really good.
Yeah, you're really good. Yeah. But I mean, I meant me and Cheney, but yes, that's true as well. Your family, so that's yeah. But no, we're all really close. And it's neat to be able to do this with people that you're doing life with, that you're friends with. It really makes such a big difference that we get to do that together and really kind of spur each other on and encourage each other. It's cool.
I think a big thing for that is also like, we've all grown up together in this. You know, we've known each other for 20 years now. You know, like, I've literally grown up with you. You know, whenever you guys became youth pastors back then, I mean, y'all were young, and Mom was helping y'all every step of the way with y'all. You know, so the friendships, this relationships, we all know each other's kids. I mean, I remember the day that y'all adopted the first 4. Like, I remember whenever y'all came to the cafe that first day with all of them and stuff, and they were so little, and y'all, everyone was so excited about it and everything. And then I remember whenever Ethan came home. I remember whenever y'all got pregnant. I remember all that. And so, like, I think that also builds all the things, because this program has been around for 20 years now. It just hasn't been labeled as Lafayette Prayer Room.
Right. Exactly.
You know, this prayer team, Miss Lula, Miss Kathy Patio, like, all these people, Miss Vesta, all these people have been around for 20 years. You know, the relationships, everything, being under one umbrella of, hey, this is our focus. You know, we've had one leader, and so it's been very, very focused for so long.
Yeah, we have that history.
Yeah,
there's something for that. Yeah, I agree. Let's shift a little bit to more of a practical help. What would you say to beginning a musician or a singer that wanted to grow spiritually in their gifting, if they wanted to get better? Because you were talking earlier about how some people really fed into your life, like Rachel Baldwin did. And so if somebody else is on the other side of this and they're like young and they want to maybe grow in their spiritual gift in worship in general, but potentially maybe somebody that's wanting to get involved in a prayer room, what would be your advice?
Yeah, my advice is just start playing somewheres, whether that's in your room with headphones in, whether that's, like, me as a bass player, I can't hear myself if I'm not plugged into something. But there's even times where I just want to pick up a bass and just play because I can feel it in my fingers, and I can still express knowing what it would sound like, and the Lord wants to say something in that moment. But it's playing just anywhere as you can. If you have a buddy that, you know, maybe they play drums or something, and they don't even have a drum set, but you have sticks and you have a wall or some chair or something like that, go hang out with them and go just communion a little bit with them and just see where it goes. Yeah. You know, because once you start playing, you'll naturally want to go other places with your playing. You won't always sit in the same spot, because you're gonna get bored of that if you don't have that stretch. It's gonna start to stretch you. I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that the prayer room stretches you musically a ton. I mean, there's so many times where I might have felt lost if I wouldn't have played so much already. I would have begun to feel lost, but the only way you can get better at it is keep doing it. If I hadn't played so many hours in the prayer room before, would I feel as confident in these cycles that I do now? No, but I was never that confident before. I just had to get through it. I just had to be there and allow the Lord, just be open to the Lord and what he's saying and using me for in that moment. And so it's just every chance you can get play. Yeah. Because especially if you're starting out, you want to play a ton. I mean, this. Whenever you first are learning something, that's your like peak interest level.
It's true. It's true.
Because it'll go down after a while naturally. But whenever you first want to get into something, that is your peak interest level. So lean into it as much as you can. And then once you fall off, you're not falling off to the bottom. Now you're falling off to a good middle point because you've gone so high already. And so it's just playing as much as you can, I think. With people, without people, doesn't matter. I think you should just play. Just pick up your instrument and play. One of the big things I've learned this year is previously I've never had my guitars out in my room. They've always been in a case, put up against the wall or whatever, just out of the way and stuff. But this year I made it a focal point. I got a 3-guitar stand because I have a fretless bass also. And I put them all 3 in my office. And so every day I see them and it just makes me want to grab them more. It makes me play them more because, I can just grab it for 10 minutes and just play. I don't have to plug into anything, whatever. Like, I don't need to hear it. I just want to play something kind of deal. Or, the Lord put this on my heart.
Just letting you know, Janie, there's a possibility that the guitars might be out in our house soon. I like that. That's cool.
Or like in our house, Katie plays piano also. And so we have a piano in our dining room. Well, it's Abram's playroom. But there's a piano in there. And then we also have a mini acoustic that sits in there on a guitar stand. So like it's just putting those things in places where we want to engage with it because we see it. Because sometimes you're not going to think about it, I'm bored. I'll just go scroll on Instagram or someone might scroll on TikTok or whatever. But if you see your guitar sitting there, if you see your bass electric or if there's a piano sitting there, well, instead of scrolling for an hour, let me go play for 20 minutes on my guitar, whatever. And it just allows for so much more opportunities to do it. What about you? What practical ways are you?
Yeah, well, it's kind of very similar to what you're saying. What I was going to say was don't wait. Like, don't wait until you're ready to do it because that'll never come. That's from my personal experience. I'll have this idea of like, well, one day I'm going to do this. One day I will lead a prayer set, but I was waiting to be ready. That doesn't happen. Like not typically, you just start and be willing. And probably the most important thing, especially when it comes to leading a set, be willing to fail, be willing to fall and fail, lean into that. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to get up there and not have something to sing. It's not bad to get there and sing the wrong thing or play the wrong note or, sing off key. Like those aren't bad things. Like I know as musicians, as singers, we tend to think, it's, something I'm like, my daughter Anna's now starting to play in the prayer room every other week and amazing. Love it. So, but she started to sing a little bit and she's, before she gets on the stage, she's like, I have to know the song stat. Like we go out in the lobby and I practice with her. We go through all those parts. She's like, well, and one day we were doing it. She's like, hey, it's like, well, what parts are you singing? Because, I was like, I don't know. I'll sing this and I might sing more and we'll see, she's like, no, dang, like I need to know when are you singing, and so, but be willing to, sing out and you're like, oh, shouldn't have sang there. And it's okay. And part of what we were saying earlier about how doing this with friends helps with that because I know that I can go up there and I can sing horribly. I can botch bad. And I know Miss Vester's going to be out there and she's like, it was so good, because that's just who she is, and that the safety of being in our community of prayer room is that the safety is that I can sing and do whatever. And I know I'm not going to get ridiculed. I know I'm not going to be critiqued, as long as I'm, singing things that are scripturally sound, I'm going to be in a good place, so do it. That's my best advice is don't wait for the opportunity to come looking for you. Make it happen. do it. Do it now. Don't hold it. And practice at home. Like that was Jamie and I, before we ever led on a Saturday, we did it at home multiple times. And for a long time now we can show up and we can do it. But we would just do it at home. And, she'd have out scriptures and I'd practice and be like, okay, I'm going to do this now. And we just kind of go through it together when it's just me and her at the house. And that was nice having, I'm similar with you, I'm sure with you and Katie being able to do that as well. Same idea. It's nice to have something that you can do that with on your own. Like you're saying, do it with somebody.
Yeah. I think also a big thing is getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Is so big for that growth, right? I mean, I remember in college, my first semester as a freshman, they had an opening in one of the smaller prayer rooms of, hey, they needed to fill an hour. Somebody needed to fill an hour set. And there had been multiple people, worship leaders, who had done devotional sets, an hour on a guitar and just sing just them for an hour and stuff. And for whatever reason, I felt led to, I'm going to raise my hand. Hey, I'll do a devotional, but I'm not going to sing or say anything on the mic other than read the scripture. And so I didn't know how it was going to look. Never seen anyone else do it at the time. And just saying yes, and then going home that night and being like, God, what did I just say yes to? And just start praying to the Lord. Lord, you're going to have to help me through this. Like, just start praying about it. And the Lord came over me with such peace in the moment of, I have you. Like this is what I want. This was me who put that on your heart to say yes to this, because I want to speak through you. I want to speak to you in that moment. And so I went and I did the set. There was zero singing. I read the scripture before I started the set and then played for an hour. There was no other words spoken the entire set for an hour. I don't know if anyone else liked the set or not, but I do remember as I'm playing, there's another bass player that I knew who was a senior that year walking down the hall from one of his classes, and he hears it's just a bass. Yeah. Any bass player who hears it's just a bass, what's going on in there? We're all looking. And so he pops his head in and he looks at it. He asks him, I see him ask one of the people in the audience, like, is it the whole set for him? How much longer does he have? Yeah. Is what I saw him ask. And I think it was like 30 minutes or whatever. He comes running up on stage. He just taps me. He goes, what's up? He starts plugging in his bass. And so now for the next 30 minutes, we have two bass players playing the set. But it allowed us to grow. In both of us, we started doing things that we don't normally do. Mm-hmm. Because whenever you have two bass players, you can do whatever you want. There are no rules anymore. So it allowed us to do so many different things and grow so differently and together. We've never been able to play together, even though I'm great friends with him. Shout out MK Han from Hong Kong. Would never have met him in my life if I had not been at that school at that time also. And so he comes up. We never would have played together because two bass players are never going to play together. And so we got that moment, and just the Lord did something in us two. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he did anything in anyone else, but us two, it was so powerful for us. And that was because I got out of my comfort zone in that moment. And just saying yes to something that I didn't know exactly how it was going to work out. I didn't know how I was going to do. If I was going to be able to do a whole hour, I don't know. Yeah. But it just worked out so well because I said yes to what the Lord put on my heart. So I think getting out of your comfort zone is a big thing also.
That's good. That's really good.
So like as a beginner, like we're saying, step out your comfort zone, worship with your friends and stuff, people that people that you can trust, people that you can be in harmony with. But as an experienced musician and singer, like what are kind of those extra steps that you can do whenever you might get bored or something, or if you want to grow creatively and like progress in your prophetic? What would you say to that?
Man, I would say one thing that I've noticed for me personally, because I said, like both of us, we've led worship for years on stage in a corporate setting. One thing that I've noticed, and my wife has said it to me as well, is that my corporate leading of worship has gotten better and deeper since I started leading in the prayer room, because it pulled something different out of me that I didn't know was there. And then so what I'm able to do is in a corporate setting, I can almost incorporate some of those things that I've learned and experienced and the things that I've gained in the intimate setting of a prayer room. I've been able to incorporate parts of that into a corporate worship setting. which have been incredible, and it's opened up a side of my corporate worship leading that I didn't know I had, that I could tap into. And so in that way, for somebody that has lots of experience, maybe leading worship or singing in worship teams and things like that, I would say tap into that, the prayer room wherever you are, and whether that's being in the room, being on stage, but just tap into that intimacy, that closeness, because when you tap into those things, it brings things up in you that you don't even know are there, that you'll find parts of your walk, parts of your leadership ability, parts of your worshiping that you didn't know were even in you, and that'll show up in a corporate setting as well. And of course, if you're bored and you're wanting more, then come on over to the prayer room. We'll welcome you. You can be a part of what we're doing.
I think a big thing for me is like you said, whenever I play on Saturday night sets that I play on, I notice a massive difference whenever I do play on Saturdays and then I play the next Sunday morning for church. And I find a massive, I was telling our keys player on Sunday, we went to lunch the other day, I was telling him how different it feels just emotionally and spiritually, how much more ready I am I'm already in the presence as soon as I get there Sunday morning, because guess what? I ended my night in the presence the night before, Saturday. So I come to Sunday morning and I'm reared up, ready to go.
Yeah, the pump is primed.
Yeah, I'm a bucking bull just ready to be let out right now. And I find that so often. And it's funny too, because sometimes I'll play on Saturday, but then I don't play on Sunday mornings if it's another band's rotation. And I'm almost like, I just want to play. And so I'll go home on Sunday after I eat my Laura's and I'll go and play bass on my own on Sundays and stuff, just because I have to get it out. It echoes so much and it just reverberates constantly whenever I play on a Saturday. It just bounces around all night. My dreams are better, I think. I don't remember all my dreams, but I'm sure they are. Like just everything just kind of elevates whenever I spend that time. And I find that, I don't do Monday nights or Fridays. Monday nights, that's Katie's nights to go. So I keep Abram at the house while she goes to those sets. And then Fridays, they're during the day. So it's just during the workday. I can't make those. And so Saturday nights have been my thing, those are the ones that I committed to because that's what works for me. Other people might work differently. I know Felicia and Fridays and stuff like that. So it works differently for different people. But for me personally, I'm a night owl. So ending my night on a Saturday night at the end of the weekend, I think of Sunday as the start of the week. For me, I know some people think it's Monday. They're wrong. But ending my week in the prayer room, playing and worshiping with a group like we've talked about all night is that, it's a group that I've known my entire life. They've watched me grow up. Miss Lula was in the Mother's Day out whenever I was there or whatever. Like all these people that I've known my entire life and have grown with spiritually. And I get to end my week every week with that moment with them. I've played with some big names in the Christian music space, Misty Edwards, John Thurlow, Justin Rizzo, all these people. I've played with all these people, but I cherish playing in Lafayette Prayer Room so much more because it's with my people. It's with the people that care about me so much. It's with the people I care about so much and stuff. And it's also such a like-mindedness where, hey, we're here. We all know why we're here at the Lafayette Prayer Room. We're praying for Louisiana. We're praying for the men intercessors in Louisiana. We're praying for the leaders, and there's so much focus and intent. And then you walk in and you see all these friendly faces, and how's Abram, or how's Katie, or I saw you went on this trip this week, and like all those things happen whenever you walk in, and it just cultivates that culture of creativity and it allows the prophetic to flow so freely, because like you said, no one's going to be judging you for playing a wrong note or singing a wrong note, or if you capo in the wrong spot on a song or whatever, it doesn't matter because we all know why we're here, And so I find that's the biggest thing for me is I just love doing it so much here, ending my week with that.
Couldn't agree with you more there, man. That's good. Man, I think that we've kind of wrapped up what we're going to talk about today, and this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We have to do it again. I think so.
Man, hopefully this was insightful and just fun. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. This was a blast. Can't wait to do this again. Don't worry, next time you're going to have, like I said, a much better looking group of hosts. But for now, we're signing off. We'll see you next time. See you later.
Bye.